February 11, 2020. In downtown Edison, Colorado, maintenance workers entered Unit 5B of the Ridgeview Apartments after neighbors complained about a chemical smell seeping through the vents. The older of the two men, Frank Mercer, had been working building maintenance for 30 years. He'd smelled gas leaks, rotting food, and once, a deceased tenant who hadn't been discovered for weeks. But this was different, sharp, medicinal, with something underneath he couldn't place. "Should we wait for the super?" his partner asked, keys jangling nervously in his hand. Frank shook his head. "Procedure says we check it out first." The knocking went unanswered. 3 attempts, each louder than the last. Frank used the master key, calling out as the door swung open to a darkened apartment. "Maintenance. Anyone home?" Silence greeted them, along with the unmistakable chemical odor, stronger now. The apartment was unnaturally clean, surfaces wiped down, nothing out of place. No dishes in the sink. No mail scattered on counters. Just perfect, sterile order. "Hello?" Frank called again, moving cautiously down the hallway. The bathroom door stood partially open, a sliver of harsh fluorescent light spilling onto the carpeted hallway. Frank pushed it wider with his fingertips. Inside they found 26-year-old Lena Carver, dead in the bathtub, water drained, wrists clean, eyes open. Her gaze fixed on the ceiling, unseeing. Her skin had taken on a waxy pallor, lips slightly blue. No signs of struggle. No wounds. Just an empty bottle of sedatives on the counter and a single sheet of paper taped to the mirror. "I've been invisible for months." "You made sure of that?" Detective Mira Santos arrived 40 minutes later, the 5th case she'd caught that week. February always brought an uptick in the darker cases, something about the gray skies and biting cold that drove people to their limits. She surveyed the bathroom, careful not to disturb anything until the forensics team finished. Time of death, she asked the medical examiner, a young woman named Dr. Patel who had only joined the department 3 months earlier. "Based on body temperature and lividity, I'd estimate between 10 p.m. and midnight last night," Dr. Patel said, her gloved hands gentle as she examined Lena's neck and wrists. "No obvious physical trauma. Toxicology will tell us more, but given the empty prescription bottle, an overdose seems likely." Santos nodded, her eyes drawn to the note on the mirror. "Suicide, then?" "That would be my preliminary conclusion," Dr. Patel said, "but I'll know more after the autopsy." Santos copied down the note word for word in her notebook. 7 words that could mean anything, or nothing. A final message, cryptic and accusatory. It nagged at her, that note. Something about it felt performative, as if written for an audience larger than whoever might find her. "Any ID on the victim?" she asked the officer securing the scene. "Lena Carver, according to her driver's license. 26. Wisconsin license, issued 8 months ago." At first, it looked like a suicide. Open and shut. Another tragedy in the dead of winter. But then police reviewed building records, and found that no one had ever officially rented Unit 5B. The tenant listed was a man named Benjamin Wexler, paid in cash by Dropbox. When they questioned the leasing office, the manager claimed he kept to himself and had a girlfriend who stayed sometimes. That girlfriend was Lena. "I don't understand," Santos said, looking across the desk at the building manager, a nervous man who kept adjusting his tie. "You're saying you never actually met Benjamin Wexler?" "Not exactly," the manager hedged. "I mean, I've seen him, tall guy, dark hair. But he always paid in cash, dropped in the overnight box. Left notes if something needed fixing. Model tenant, really. Quiet. And you never found it strange that he paid in cash? In this day and age?" The manager shrugged. "He paid a premium for it. Cash tenants get charged extra, company policy. Besides, some people just don't trust banks." Santos made a note. "And the girlfriend, Lena. When did she start staying there?" Maybe 5, 6 months ago. I'd see her coming and going. Always looked. I don't know. Tense. But lots of people are like that. It's not my business to ask. Did they socialize with neighbors? Have friends over? Never. Like I said, kept to themselves. The manager couldn't provide a proper description of Benjamin Wexler beyond tall with dark hair. No one in the building seemed to know him. It was as if he existed only in passing, a shadow glimpsed in hallways, a name on a mailbox. Santos returned to the station and pulled up Lena's background. Lena had moved from Milwaukee 6 months earlier. According to her parents, with whom Santos spoke by phone, she had taken a job at a marketing firm in Edison. They thought she was living with a roommate named Becca. She had stopped posting online, changed her number, and rarely responded to messages. She became distant, her mother said, voice cracking. We thought she was just busy with the new job, the new city. She'd always been independent. When was the last time you spoke with her? Santos asked. Christmas. She called for maybe 5 minutes. Said she couldn't visit because of work deadlines. She sounded different. Rushed. Did she ever mention a boyfriend? Someone named Benjamin Wexler. A pause. No. She was seeing someone in Milwaukee, but they broke up before she moved. She never mentioned anyone new. Santos thanked them and promised to keep them updated. After hanging up, she stared at her notes, trying to connect the dots. A woman using a different name than she'd given her parents. A boyfriend no one had clearly seen. A sterile apartment with barely any personal effects. In the apartment, forensics had found hidden microphones tucked inside a vent and inside her purse. Also, a burner phone, used only to text one number, saved as B. One recovered message from the previous week, you said no one would believe me anyway. You're right. The microphones were professional grade, the tech told Santos. Voice activated. Data was being sent to a cloud server, but we can't trace it without a warrant. And the burner phone? Santos asked. Prepaid. Purchased with cash at a convenience store 3 miles from the apartment. No cameras there. Santos scrolled through the text messages. Most were mundane, updates on Lena's whereabouts, questions about what time she should be home, requests for permission to go certain places. It read like a child checking in with a strict parent. B's responses were controlling, sometimes threatening, be home by 7. Don't make me come looking. And, who were you talking to? I can hear everything, remember? Santos felt a chill as she read through the exchanges. The last message Lena had sent, 3 days before her death, you said no one would believe me anyway. You're right. No response from B. Further investigation revealed Benjamin Wexler didn't exist. The ID used to sign the lease was expertly forged. The photo matched a man named Ross Denning, 38, who had previously been accused of coercive control and psychological abuse in 2 prior relationships. Both women filed restraining orders. Both later dropped them under circumstances that raised red flags for Santos. I need everything we have on Ross Denning, Santos told her partner, Detective Wilson. Previous addresses, known associates, employment history. And I want to talk to those women who filed restraining orders. The first woman, Melissa Tanner, now lived in Oregon. The phone call was brief. I can't talk about this, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I have kids now, a husband. I've moved on. I understand, Santos said gently. But a woman is dead, and we think Ross might be involved. A long silence. That doesn't surprise me, Melissa finally said. Ross, he gets in your head. Makes you doubt everything, your perceptions, your memories, your worth. By the time I got away, I wasn't sure what was real anymore. Why did you drop the restraining order? Another pause. He found me anyway. Kept showing up places I'd be. Sent messages through mutual friends. It was easier to drop it than live in fear of what he'd do if I didn't. The second woman refused to speak at all. Santos traced Ross to a residence in Elko, Nevada, where he worked remotely as an IT security consultant, a job that would give him the technical skills to install surveillance equipment. Local police agreed to bring him in for questioning. When confronted, he admitted to helping Lena through a mental health episode but denied harming her. He claimed she chose isolation, and he only offered her stability. "I loved Lena," he told the detectives, his expression a perfect mask of concern. "She was troubled. Had anxiety, depression. The isolation was her choice, she didn't trust people." "Then why the surveillance equipment?" Santos asked over the video call. Ross didn't flinch. "For her protection. She had paranoid episodes, thought people were following her. The mics gave her peace of mind that I could keep her safe. By listening to her every word. By being there when she needed me." His voice was smooth, reasonable. "Look, I was in Nevada when she died. You can check my alibi. I couldn't have forced her to take those pills. The sedatives in her system were prescribed to you," Santos pointed out. Under the name Benjamin Wexler. For the first time, Ross looked uncomfortable. "She had trouble getting healthcare in a new state. I let her use some of my medication when she was having panic attacks. It was compassionate, not criminal." Santos wanted to reach through the screen and wipe the practiced concern off his face. Everything about him was calculated, the right amount of grief, the reasonable explanations, the helpful demeanor. A performance crafted over years of manipulation. But wanting to arrest someone wasn't the same as having enough evidence to do it. The autopsy results came back. Cause of death, overdose of sedatives, likely self-administered. No signs of physical coercion. Toxicology showed no other substances that might have rendered her unconscious before ingestion. "It's technically a suicide," the DA told Santos. "We can't prove he forced her to take those pills. He isolated her, surveilled her, controlled her every move," Santos argued. "He created the conditions that led to her death. Psychological abuse isn't illegal in Colorado, detective. Not unless we can prove specific threats or coercion." Santos kept digging. She interviewed Lena's co-workers at the marketing firm. They described a quiet woman who rarely socialized, always seemed tired, and often checked her phone anxiously. One remembered Lena receiving flowers at work and looking terrified rather than pleased. Detectives believed Lena had tried to leave multiple times, but was convinced she'd be unsafe without him. One friend from Milwaukee later came forward with a voicemail Lena had left weeks before her death. "If I disappear, I want you to tell them I tried. I swear I tried." The friend, Amanda Liu, had been Lena's roommate in college. "She called me from a grocery store payphone," Amanda told Santos. Said she couldn't talk long because he monitored her cell. She was scared, but determined. Said she had a plan to get away. "Did she share any details?" Amanda shook her head. "Just that she'd been documenting everything. Said she had evidence." Santos returned to the apartment, now empty and sealed as a crime scene. She methodically went through every inch again, looking for anything they might have missed. In the bathroom, she noticed a loose tile near the bathtub. Prying it away revealed a small waterproof bag containing a USB drive. The drive contained hundreds of audio files, recordings Lena had made of her conversations with Ross. Documentation of gaslighting, threats, and psychological torture. In one file, his voice was cold. "No one would believe you anyway. You're mentally unstable, remember? That's in your medical records now. I made sure of it. In another, if you leave, I'll make sure everyone knows what you really are. Your parents. Your friends. Your boss. I've got enough to destroy you." The most chilling was the last recording, dated 3 days before her death. I know what you're planning, Lena. You think you're so clever with your evidence. But it won't matter. If you leave, I'll find you. And if I can't have you, no one will. Santos brought the evidence to the DA again. This is proof of threats. Coercion. It's better, the DA admitted. But his lawyer will argue these are out of context, or that she consented to the relationship dynamics. And we still can't prove he directly caused her death. Due to lack of physical evidence of assault, no charges were filed. Ross vanished from public view, closing his social media accounts and leaving his job in Nevada. Santos kept tabs on him through law enforcement channels. He resurfaced 6 months later in Idaho under a new name. Unit 5B has since remained unrented. The building manager claims it's because of the housing market, but Santos knows better. New tenants toured the apartment but always found reasons to choose different units. Maintenance staff reported odd electrical malfunctions, lights flickering, outlets failing. The most persistent story: the water in that bathroom never stays warm, no matter how high the setting. And the mirror sometimes fogs up with words that weren't written. Santos visits the apartment sometimes, sitting in the empty living room. She brings the case files, reviewing them again and again, looking for something, anything, she missed. A way to bring justice for Lena. On the anniversary of Lena's death, Santos received an anonymous envelope containing a single photograph: Ross with a new woman, his arm around her shoulder. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. On the back, written in unfamiliar handwriting, history repeats. Santos still hasn't given up. She started a task force focusing on coercive control cases, collecting evidence and testimonies. Waiting for the day Ross makes a mistake. Or for the day the law catches up with men like him. Sometimes, sitting in that empty apartment, she swears she can hear a voice, just at the edge of hearing. I tried. I swear I tried. The case remains open.